In this video, the following concepts are studied. Prefix table. Benefits of prefixes. Conversion factor method. Prefixes. We want to explain the prefixes. Sometimes it is necessary to use a prefix to express a big number or a small number. For example, instead of writing 2000 meter, we write 2 kilometer. Prefixes are coefficients that are placed in front of the unit. This makes it easier to express values and numbers. You can see the most important prefixes here. This section is for prefixes greater than 1. And this section is for prefixes smaller than 1. In the first column is the prefix name. Take kilo as an example. In the second column is the symbol, denoted by K. The next column shows the factor. In solving problems, we put the factor instead of the prefix. For example, instead of K, we write 10 to the power of 3. The last column shows a numeric value equal to 1000. You have to work enough to learn the important prefixes well. We try to give enough examples and explain each example in full detail.
Please pay attention. Standard prefixes are a multiple of 10, which makes it very easy. Another advantage is that scientific notation can be used. Choosing the right prefix helps a lot to display a number. Here we want to compare the three prefixes kilo, mega, and giga. Consider the following number. We use the prefix kilo. We know that kilo is equal to 1000. We see that it is not suitable at all. Let's use mega this time. Mega is equal to 1 million. We see that it has improved. Let's use giga. We know giga is equal to 1 billion. We see that it is the best case. Note, however, that another prefix may be appropriate for another number. In other words, each number needs its own appropriate prefix. For example, suppose the length of a path is 5000 meter. We look at the table. We see that it is better to use kilos. But if we have the number 5 million meter, we see by referring to the table, it is better to use mega. But for 0.001 meter, it is better to use milli. Now we want to study the examples. Each example has its own point. So please pay attention to all the examples. Although these problems can be solved by other methods, we use the standard method. That is, we use the conversion factor method.
Conversion factor is a fraction that numerator and denominator determine according to the given units. The main point is that this fraction should be equal to 1. For example, this fraction is a conversion factor. Because 1 kilometer is equal to 1000 meter. So numerator and denominator of the fraction are equal, and the total fraction is equal to 1. This fraction is a conversion factor. Because 1 hour is equal to 60 minutes. Each of these fractions is useful for its own issues. But note that the following fraction is not a conversion factor, because 1 hour is equal to 3600 seconds, so it is equal to 60, but it must be equal to 1, which is not. Suppose we want to know how many micrometers are in 25 megameter. We can multiply this phrase by 1 because it does not change anything. We put the conversion factor instead. Therefore, the value of this factor must be equal to 1. Note that the conversion factor has two important properties. The first is that its value is equal to 1. The second is to do the proper conversion. Because the megameter is in the numerator, we put it in the denominator of the conversion factor. Because we want to convert megameter to micrometer, we put it in numerator. This is the general way of working. To make the conversion factor equal to 1, we write the prefixes this way. We see that its value is equal to 1. Now we have to calculate this amount. Identical prefixes are removed together. We get the final answer. We write it as a scientific notation.
Tip 1. What should we do if we have to use two conversion factors? Example 1. In this example we want to know how many nanometer per microsecond are in 3 gigameter per megasecond. We can write this phrase like this, that is, we can write it in mathematical form. We use the conversion factor method. In this example we have 2 units, so we need to use two conversion factors. Gigameter is in numerator. So in conversion factor we write it in the denominator, so we can delete it later. Likewise, megaseconds is the denominator of the fraction. So in conversion factor we write it in numerator. We need to convert gigameter to nanometers. So we write nanometer on the numerator. Also we want convert megaseconds to microseconds. So we write the microsecond at the denominator of the fraction. We remove equal prefixes together. We do the calculations to get the final answer.
Tip 2. If the unit has power, then the prefix will have the same power. For example, for a square centimeter, the prefix has a power of 2. and for cubic centimeters, the prefix has a power of 3. Example 2. In this example we want to know how many square millimeter are in 2300 square centimeters. We can write this phrase like this, that is, we can write it in mathematical form. We use the conversion factor method. Here, because the unit has a power of 2, so conversion factor also has power 2. We see that the centimeter is in the numerator of the fraction. So in conversion factor we write it in denominator. We want convert centimeter to millimeter. So we write millimeter in numerator. We need to determine the relationship between centimeters and millimeters. Although we know that every centimeter is equal to 10 millimeters. But we use the general method. Follow the procedure below. Note that power affects both x and the unit. We do the calculations to get the final answer. If you do not understand this example well, consider the following example. Next example is similar to this example.